All right. I'm going live right this minute. Ooh, there's some ants on the table. Are we live? Can you hear me? Hey, everybody. Chuck Holton here. It's good to see you. I am coming to you from the mountains of southern Kazakhstan via Starlink at a place called Lake Kulsai. And I'm going to show you, I want to show you this. I want you to see this view. As part of the reason why I scheduled the live earlier than usual today was just so that you could see this before it gets dark. Absolutely stunning scenery out here in Kazakhstan. If you've never been to Kazakhstan, maybe we should do a tour here sometime, but you'd have to be pretty adventurous because there's a lot of hiking and horseback riding and motorcycle riding and things like that. But it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And we are staying in these yurts over here. You see the yurts, traditional housing that the Kazakhs live in. As a matter of fact, they have one that's set up as a bathhouse. I'm going to go take myself a sauna here in a little bit. It's another reason why I want to do the live a little earlier than usual. But I appreciate all of you being on. So we probably aren't going to have a ton of people on today because I'm so early, but that's okay. They can watch it later and they'll be glad that they got a chance that I did it early just so they could get a chance to see all this. It's really incredibly beautiful here and cooler, which is nice because it's been hot. Pretty much every place I've been for the last several months, it's been very hot. It is super hot in Israel right now. They have record-breaking temperatures, 124 degrees, the hottest it's ever been recorded in Israel. So all that global warming or whatever you want to call it, or maybe it's just a hot summer everywhere because it's been hot in the United States. It's been hot across Europe. It's been hot all over the place. So we're going to be talking about Israel today and the movement that's known as BDS. That stands for Boycott, Divest, and Sanction. The BDS movement has been around for a long time. As a matter of fact, I actually made stories about it several years ago. I want to show you one that I made with Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North on a trip to Israel in 2017. Take a look at this little package here, and I'll come back in just a minute and talk about it.
This is the historic King David Hotel in the heart of Jerusalem. What you're about to see inside is a program that's going to change things for the good, hopefully for Israel and the USA. Here's what's happened. There's a program begun by the far left in Europe called BDS. It stands for Boycott, Divest, and Sanction. It's all an economic attack on Israel, trying to force them to make accommodations that wouldn't be good for Israel or the United States. But the governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan, is about to sign a document opening a trade agreement between Israel and the state of Maryland. It could set the example for the rest of the U.S. and maybe even in Europe.
The goal of our trade mission has been to strengthen the ties between Maryland and Israeli officials and business leaders. We are committed to creating a culture in our state where all businesses can grow and thrive. And in this increasingly competitive economy, where companies can and do locate virtually anywhere, we are looking beyond our borders for more opportunities.
Give us a sense for what businesses you see as prospering from this, both here and home.
Well, we already have 24 Israeli companies headquartered in Maryland, and we signed deals with about 4 or 5 more since we've been here, mostly in the cyber, security, and defense industries, but also in biotech, biohealth kinds of things where Maryland is strong, and so are they strong here in Israel.
A sense that you may be setting an example for other governors in the United States.
Well, I don't know. I'm not really trying to set an example for anybody. We're just doing what we think is the right thing to do. This has been a tremendous week for us, business-wise, but also culturally, just getting to know some really good friends here in Israel.
From Jerusalem, I'm Oliver North for NRA TV.
All right, so that is a package that we made several years ago about the BDS movement, and that's why I wanted to play it for you so that you could hear from Colonel North what the boycott, divest, and sanction movement is all about. Now, since the war started, at the beginning of the war, there has been actually quite a few countries who've come to Israel's defense, and some of those same countries are now joining the BDS movement and are cutting off support for Israel because of the supposed famine in Gaza. Now, I have something, there's a new report out that I wanted to mention that says that the incidence of famine in Gaza has risen dramatically over the past month, I think. And this comes from a UN metric, a UN report from the IPC. I'm not sure what does the IPC stand for, but from the month of July, they say that the incidence of famine or malnutrition in Gaza has gone up significantly. However, according to this report from Israel Hayom, the reason is that the UN changed the metrics that they use to measure famine. Now, I know this is a big surprise to everybody, but the United Nations, it used to be that they used a malnutrition threshold from 30% malnourished meant that they were malnourished. If they were 30% under the recommended daily allowance of vitamins and minerals and things like that. But they changed that now to 15% for the month of July. So their report didn't actually say that. They, all the news articles that are coming out based on this UN report don't say that. They just say that the incidence of malnutrition has risen significantly in Gaza. Well, it's only risen significantly in Gaza because they changed the numbers. They changed the metrics. And that's something that leftists do all the time. Barack Obama did it when he claimed that unemployment had gone down to record low levels. They just changed the way that they measured unemployment by not measuring people who had just stopped looking for work altogether. So they just cut those people out, and wow, the unemployment numbers got better. They've done that with the inflation numbers under the Biden administration, that they just changed how they measure inflation. Several Republican and Democratic administrations in the United States have done that with how they measure the national debt. If they say now our national debt is somewhere around $37 trillion, and that in and of itself is, we're not going to be able to pay that back. Like, there's no scenario, no realistic scenario where the United States would be able to raise enough money through taxes or tariffs or whatever to pay that back, or anything like that. There is one scenario that would actually work to pay it back, and the government would never do it. So we can talk about that later. But so that would require the government selling off government land into private hands and tokenizing it to a digital currency. But that, anyway, even $37 trillion, we're not going to be able to pay that back. However, if you went back to the way that they used to measure the U.S. national debt and measured it that way again, including all unfunded liabilities, all things that are going to come due in the next 25 years that the United States government is going to have to pay for, our debt is not 37 trillion. It's more like $250 trillion. That's how much the government has swept under the rug. So the United States will default on that. I mean, that's not a matter of opinion. That's just a matter of arithmetic. It's just not possible. I was trying to explain that to my children one day, and I was trying to come up with like a way that would be easier to understand, because 37 trillion, 250 trillion, what's the difference? And I said, this would be like if a family like ours made $60,000 a year and we had a credit card with a balance on it we were trying to pay off of $60 million. If we made $60,000 a year, how are we going to pay off a credit card of $60 million? You're not. It's not going to happen. Like, there's no way that your house could grow enough in value that you could sell your house and pay it off. There's no way you could ever work enough to pay it off, take another job. Like, it's just not going to happen. So we are being lied to all the time by the government in terms of the numbers. If you watch the jobs numbers, for example, under the Biden administration, the deep state was pro-Biden. They would fudge the numbers on the jobs every quarter and say, oh, wow, there was 250,000 new jobs that were, created in the last quarter. And then several months later, they come in and quietly revise those numbers to, oh, yeah, we actually lost jobs last quarter. And stuff like that happens all the time. And it happens under both Republican and Democrat administrations. Well, leftists are especially good at lying with statistics. And that's what's happening with this UN report about starvation in Gaza. They're just flat out lying with statistics. And you're still hearing news story after news story after news story about there's not enough food coming into Gaza. Well, listen, they are airdropping hundreds of tons a day of food into Gaza. Enough food to feed everybody in Gaza at least once per day. On top of that, there are about 200 truckloads every day coming into Gaza at this moment. All of that together comes out to 225 trucks or so coming into Gaza. They need about 120 trucks a day to feed everybody in Gaza 3 meals a day. So they're doubling the amount of food that they're sending into Gaza, and yet they're still reporting that Gaza doesn't have enough food. Why? Because they want to use that as a bludgeon against Israel. There's no two ways about it. That's exactly what they are doing. Now, you've heard about the plans for moving people out of Gaza that Israel has, that President Trump has talked about. And Israel has said, we would like to allow people, not force people, but allow people to leave Gaza if they desire. If they want to go, we should allow them to go. People should be free to leave if they want. Now, the rest of the world says, no, you can't let them leave Gaza. Why? Not because they care about people in Gaza. If they cared about human rights and freedom, then what freedom is more important than being able to move around if you want to? Like, leave someplace that's bad. That you ought to be able to pick up and leave if the place where you live sucks. That doesn't necessarily mean you should be able to go wherever you want. You shouldn't. That doesn't mean everybody in the world should be able to come to the United States, for example, or Europe. But if it's bad in your neighborhood, you should be able to move to another neighborhood. That's just a basic human right, freedom of movement. So Israel has said, we'd like to allow people to leave if they want to. The world is setting its hair on fire over that. Well, a lot of people have asked, like, where will they go? Well, it turns out Israel has been holding talks with, get this, drum roll, please, South Sudan to send Palestinians to South Sudan. Now, if you could find a place on planet Earth that is worse than Gaza, that would be South Sudan. because there's actual famine in South Sudan. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed in the civil war that's gone on there, and the famine that's resulted from it and everything. Of course, it doesn't get any news because they're little brown people. Who cares? That's kind of how the world works, unfortunately. And so South Sudan is orders of magnitude worse than Gaza. There's not a tremendous amount of aid coming into South Sudan. But the rumor is that Israel and South Sudan have been holding talks about relocating Palestinians to that country. Now, the capital of South Sudan, Juba, has said those are baseless accusations. We're not going to take them. South Sudan is also not just one of the poorest countries in the world, it's also one of the most corrupt countries in the world. So if they send Gazan refugees there, believe me, the world is going to be sending tons of aid there for the Gazan refugees, and a lot of that aid will get stolen by the Sudanese. So that's interesting. Now, down in the southern part of Israel, we're going to talk more about the BDS movement in a minute, but I wanted to get to a couple of these other stories because there's some actually very hopeful things happening in Gaza right now that are not getting the press that they deserve. So one of those things is sorry about this table is super sketchy that I'm on, so it's shaking the camera a lot. It is that not getting much reporting, but down in the southern part of Gaza, the militias that have taken over from Hamas. Oh, here comes my dinner. Okay, dinner is showing up, so the table's gonna probably shake a little more. Oh wow, you guys have to see this dinner. Hold on, let's turn this around so you can see this fish. That's my dinner right there. Nate, come eat. This fish was caught out of the stream right back there behind me. That water back there, you see, they're like, oh, are you hungry? You want to eat? Okay. And they ran out there and caught these trout and made them for dinner. So I may eat these while they're hot, and you'll have to forgive me for munching in your ear. But okay, so I want to show you this video of a school that has reopened in the southern part of Gaza. As I said, in Rafah, there are these militias that have taken over from Hamas, that have established little communities, like gated communities, and they're heavily vetting the people that come in and not just allowing anybody in, and definitely not allowing Hamas in there. And they have now started sending the kids back to school for the first time since the war started. So that's pretty awesome. And what's even more awesome is what they're teaching these kids. And now I'm going to turn the audio almost completely off on this video before I show it to you, because it's got music in it and the music will get me demonetized on YouTube. Okay. So I'm going to turn the sound off, but it's got captions so you can read the captions, and I'll read those to you as well. Let's see here. Here's a school in Gaza. If a Christian comes to us, should I say to him, get out of here? And they say, no. Okay, why? Who can explain? Because we're supposed to respect our guests, because we're all equal, because we shouldn't judge a guest by their color or religion. So this is a teacher, Samira Musa. She's telling about her teaching qualifications. So Hamas has been teaching the children of Gaza to hate anybody that's not them. I despised Hamas because they were discriminatory, she says. They were extremely biased even when posting jobs. You have to have connections to work for them. Now in Eastern Rafah, they're starting a new school. Judgment comes only from God. People like me yearn for peace, comfort, hope, and safety, where we can live in an environment free of, well, something. So she's teaching them reading, writing, arithmetic, and they're going to restore education. So anyway, that is, I was just sitting here munching on my fish. This little trout here that was caught uh, in the. Did she bring a fork or something? Uh, okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. So, how about a napkin? Yeah, we got one of those too. Good. Okay. Uh, so good news. I mean, there's something hopeful that's coming out of Gaza. I mean, that's really nice to see. So, folks, do me a favor and write in the chat where you're watching from. Also, I'd like it if you would hit the like button for me. That really helps to get more people watching. So, oh, hello, this fish. Oh, yeah, this fish is good. Wow. There's a whole bunch of kids over here that are, hello. They're practicing their English on us. There, I'll show you. They're cute little kids. Hello. Uh, no, Turkey. Turkey. Okay. So, all right, where was I? Now, we're talking about the boycott, divest, and sanction movement. I'm getting very distracted today because there's beautiful scenery and there's a bunch of horses walking by. There's kids playing. There's all kinds of stuff to show you out here in Kazakhstan. Okay. Now, the big news today is that Norway just decided to divest from Israeli companies a large sum of about $2 billion from their sovereign wealth fund. As you might know, Norway has a very large sovereign wealth fund that's tied to their oil revenues that they save up money and put it aside for their people. Instead of having a national debt, they have this sovereign wealth fund so they can weather storms and help their people when they need help, which is a great idea, and I wish the United States had one. But it's the largest sovereign wealth fund on the planet. They got more than $2 trillion in this fund, and apparently about 2 billion of that was in Israeli companies. And so Norway yesterday announced that they were terminating the contracts with asset managers that handle Israeli investments, and they cited the famine in Gaza for the reason why. They said, well, we're not going to do business with Israel anymore because they're starving the people of Gaza. And as I just showed you, the numbers that are being put out about that about the famine in Gaza are being manipulated by the United Nations. So they're making investment decisions based on propaganda. And that never really goes well. It's not really a good idea to make your investment decisions based on political propaganda. Now, the worry is that this might inspire other sovereign wealth funds to also divest from Israeli companies. But I did kind of a deep dive into like how much will this actually affect Israel? So let's talk about that for a minute. They're not the only ones that have announced sanctions, embargoes, boycotts on Israeli goods since the war started. Just recently, Slovenia imposed a full arms embargo on Israel back at the end of July. And they are stopping export, import, and transit of any military equipment. Germany has done similar, taken a similar step. In the beginning of August, it suspended exports of military equipment that could be used in Gaza, which goes against its historical military support since the beginning of the war. There have been regional sanctions. As a matter of fact, in mid-July, there was a conference in Bogota, Colombia, in which 12 countries, Bolivia, Colombia, Cuba, Indonesia, Iraq, Libya, Malaysia, Namibia, Nicaragua, Oman, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Is that even a country? Does that count? And South Africa all announced sanctions that were intended to cut weapons and other support from Israel. Now, some other South and Central American countries, like Brazil and Colombia, have recalled their ambassadors from Israel. In Bolivia, where they have a outright communist as a president now, they've fully severed diplomatic relations with Israel. Belize and Honduras recalled diplomats or suspended relations to protest the bombardment of Gaza. So you can make up your own mind. How much, do you think Israel? Oh, we got light. How much do you think Israel really cares that Nicaragua is not going to do business with them anymore, or Honduras recalled their ambassador? Like, not. They probably don't care. That's not going to make much of a difference. Bigger Western countries have publicly condemned Israel's actions, but have continued trading with them, like Australia, Belgium, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, Norway, the UK, etc. Now, some of those countries have threatened future sanctions, but they haven't yet put them in place. Now, what is the impact of all of this? Well, look, exports are still flowing out of Israel. Despite the arms embargoes in Slovenia and Germany or whatever, Israel's biggest export earners, which is tech, diamonds, pharmaceuticals, and agricultural products, are still moving to global markets. So the boycotting of military stuff is not really going to affect Israel all that much. And major trade partners like the United States and the European Union as a whole, and for sure Asian tech buyers, have not joined the calls to boycott Israel. And so their export base is still intact, right? Now, the investment climate in Israel is under pressure. I mean, moves like Norway did are definitely going to affect it, but it's not, it's a real tiny fraction of Israel's total foreign investment exposure. The Tel Aviv Stock Exchange has been pretty volatile since the war began, but capital outflows, that means people selling out and leaving the Israeli exchange, have not reached levels that you would call a crisis. Their tech sector, which is responsible for over 50% of their exports, is still attracting new deals, even though some multinationals are kind of waiting on expansions or things like that they were planning to do in Israel. Now, Israel is spending a lot of money on this war, of course. They have to pay for the mobilization of their reserves. They have to pay for security upgrades. Estimates from economic analysts in Israel suggest that the war is costing between $260 and $300 million a day in direct and indirect losses to Israel. That hurts for sure. Tourism, of course, which usually brings in as much as like $7 billion a year, is down pretty sharply. I've been doing my best to go visit all the tourism sites. And they, I can't make all that up by myself for sure. But so the question really is, can Israel weather this storm? Well, the short answer is yes. Israel's economy is really diverse. It's driven by high tech. It's globally integrated, and that gives it a real good cushion against targeted sanctions, especially with the strong support that they're getting from the United States. These sanctions are really more performative on the part of Norway and Germany and Spain and Ireland and, countries like that than they are biting against Israel. The shekel has maintained strong its support. It's not dropped in value. The Israelis have a sovereign wealth fund as well, and they have not dipped into that yet, as far as I know. So it's not as big as Norway's, but Israel's got a cushion there. Now, if the sanctions were to spread to every EU country or Asia or something like that, that could cause more problems for Israel, obviously. But the BDS movement doesn't have to be successful in economic terms to be successful in political terms. And that's the reason they're doing it. So their goal is to damage Israel, not just economically, but politically on the world stage. And that, has trickle down effects for years. They, countries that maybe will pass on foreign direct investment in Israel or something like that, just because they don't want to get, singled out for supporting Israel. But unless there's a major trade rupture with the United States and the EU, this damage is not existential to Israel in any way, shape, or form. So they have the ability to weather this storm. Now, I want to talk a little more about the aid that Israel gets from the United States. A lot of people wonder, no, not yet. Wait, yeah. Okay, so you take care of her. That pass is available at 8:30. 8:30, great. I'm coming. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Booking. Yeah. So I have to hurry up because my bathhouse experience is coming. Coming up. I should just stay live and just go in the bathhouse. Would you guys be up for that? You guys like that? Christian Kiefer, you're asking a question about needing a visa in Israel. That I'm going to answer that question in just a minute when I finish what I'm going to say about the U.S. aid to Israel. Now, the U.S. has significantly bolstered its military assistance to Israel since the conflict started in 2023. Before that, we were giving Israel almost $4 billion a year in foreign military financing. This is money that we give to Israel that they give right back to us in the form of purchases of American weapons. So it's a way that the presidential administration that's in power can say that they're creating jobs by taking your tax dollars, giving them to another country, and having that country give them right back by buying things that are made in America that need Americans to work on. And so it's kind of like, I guess, pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps in a way. Now, at least since the war started, at least $12.5 billion in direct military aid has been given to Israel on top of that $4 billion, that or $3.8 billion, whatever we give them normally. And on top of that, a roughly $8.7 billion Supplemental Appropriations Act was given to them in 2024, back in April. Researchers estimate the total U.S. military aid, including replenished stockpiles, emergency drawdowns, all of that amounts to about $18 billion from October 7th to October 7th, 2024. So in the first year of the war, the United States helped Israel to the tune of about $18 billion. I haven't heard people complaining about that the way they complain about helping Ukraine, but that's mostly because people just get affected by Russian propaganda about Ukraine more than they do about Israel. Now, the U.S. hasn't just handed over cash. They've also given Israel vast quantities of artillery shells, guided bombs, bunker buster bombs, JDAMs, and $20 billion of weapons were actually sold to Israel. On top of everything else, we allowed them to buy an additional $20 billion from the United States in the form of fighter jets, missiles, and other military equipment. There are additional deals in the works for a $3 billion package for 25 more F-35 jets, another $3 billion arms sale that includes bombs and warheads. That was under the Trump administration. And there's more. There's the 20,000 Colt assault rifles that were approved for sale to Israel and then delayed by the Biden administration and then turned back on by Trump when he took over. So there's lots of assistance coming into Israel that has softened the blow of this war for them, and that's great. I mean, I'm glad to see that. Right now, let's see, how long have we been going here? 35 minutes. Thank you for watching. Please do hit that like button, folks. I'm live from Kazakhstan. I mean, I came all the way here.
We're going to post that experience over on the Holton Adventures channel.
Oh, okay. So I have this new channel that's called Holton Adventures. That's just behind the scenes footage of me doing stuff like hiking, walking tours, driving tours. It's not about me. I'm not on camera a lot. It's more about just a lot of the nice places that I get to see. And so if you can go to, I think it's
Holton Adventures.
At Holton Adventures here on YouTube. And here, we'll put that down in the chat. It is posted in the chat. Okay. Go to At Holton Adventures and we'll put it up over there. But please subscribe to that channel too if you haven't already. Okay, I want to get to questions real quick, and I've seen that we have a few. Before I do that, though, I wanted to show you one more thing. I talked about the heat wave in Israel, and that it's got to 124 degrees yesterday in Israel. Gaza, the Palestinians in Gaza are calling for Palestinians from Judea and Samaria and places like that to go out and start forest fires and take advantage of this hot weather. So they're putting out flyers like this one. I translated it from Arabic to English so you can see what they're putting out. But they put out this poster. The original one was in Arabic. It says, Molotov cocktails, they are your weapon to support Gaza and stop the genocide. I don't think murdering Israelis is really an acceptable method of stopping the genocide. I just, sorry, you lost me on that one. And so I had a map here. Oh yeah, there's my map. So this is where we went. I'm where I am right now. This is Kulsai Lake in southern Kazakhstan. So I'll show you on the map here where that is. We went up to this lake up in the mountains today. So if you look here, this mountain range, which goes between Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, is the mountain range that we're spending the week in. And we're just hitting different spots along these mountains here, going down into Kyrgyzstan tomorrow. and doing a loop around, then coming back to Kazakhstan and flying out of Almaty. So I just wanted to show you that to give you a sense for where we are and what we're doing. Okay, so let me get to the questions here. I got to go back to the document with the questions on it. Let's see here. Where's my document? There it is. And folks, I actually bought an extra Starlink for this trip because I didn't have my Starlink with me. So thank you to all of you who have made it possible for me to be able to afford to buy an extra Starlink.
Especially William Richards, who just donated $50.
Well, thank you, William. That's going. Oh, I don't see where they've been adding questions to the.
Yeah, I don't know if Mom is doing that.
Oh, okay. I don't. Maybe they're not adding questions. So I'm just gonna have to scroll back through questions. Thank you, William. I really appreciate that, and that'll go towards our Starlink bill. All right. So, question: is it possible to post when you're going live on your Telegram channel? Sure, I can try to do that. I do post it on X usually. JJ Otto asks, is visa not required for U.S. citizens to visit Israel? There's an easy short ETA form. Yeah, it's not really a visa. You just have to go to this website, eta.il, I think is what it is. And you have to fill out a form and send it in, but you have to do it before you get on the plane to fly to Israel. You can't do it once you get to Israel. So a lot of people get to the gate and then find out they're not going to be let on the plane until they fill this out. And you see people frantically filling out this form on their phone, you know, before they can get on the plane. Nothing else to lose asks, any insights on why people like Tucker Carlson and Nazi Owen have become Jew haters? Yeah, I do have an idea about that. I think it goes back to the 2020 sickness that shall not be named on YouTube or you'll get fired. And because we watched how lots of countries treated their people during that event, and we were horrified that countries that we thought were free, democratic, open societies like America actually were a lot closer to communist countries than we ever believed. Countries like Canada, countries like the UK, countries like Israel, countries like Australia, that had such just draconian measures that they locked people down and forced, you know, those things, forcing people to put things in their body that they didn't want, stuff like that. And it made us sick. And so there's a lot of people on the right who have gotten so anti-leftist that any shred of leftism that they see, they just jump on with both feet. And people like Tucker Carlson. Now, I think Tucker and Candace are being paid for their opinions to have changed as dramatically as they have. I think that they're actually making a lot of money hating on Israel. And so it's a good gig for them. But on top of that, they absolutely hate leftism, and they mistakenly attribute leftism to all of Israel. So the government of Israel is leftist. The people of Israel are leftist. And so forget about the whole, if you bless Israel, you'll be blessed. And if you curse Israel, you'll be cursed, like the Bible says. Forget about that. There's leftists in Israel, therefore we hate Israel. That's the way they think. And I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. As I've spent a lot of time in Israel, I found that there are a lot of people in Israel who are not leftists, who are just as disgusted by the things that happened there back in 2020 and 2021 as we are. And so, you just can't paint with such a broad brush. This whole thing that all Zionists are evil. Well, a Zionist is just somebody who believes Israelis ought to be able to have their own country. I don't see how you can make that case. All you're telling me, if you think all Zionists are evil, is that you haven't spent very much time in Israel. You need to go spend more time in Israel around some actual legit Zionists. What you'll find out is that they're pretty nice people. and they don't want to genocide Gazans or anything like that. So I hope that answers your question. Denise asks, "What would a woman traveling where you do be more dangerous?" Yes, it would be more dangerous for a woman to travel the places where I go. Here, specifically in Kazakhstan, no, you would not have any trouble in Kazakhstan. A woman could come here by herself and have a great time. Everybody's very friendly. It's a very safe country. Okay, so looking for more questions. Okay, Christian, I got your question. Betts Chillers Anderson says, "Can you please show us in what you stay and sleep? Is it only you and Nate?" Yeah, it's just me and Nate, and we're staying in the yurts that you see over there. You see those yurts, those tents? Yeah, we're staying in one of those. And I'm going to go. Oh, I'm 3 minutes late for my banya, so I'm going to have to let you go, folks. Uh, all right. So, oh, what time is it?
7.
Oh, it's 7:30. Oh, we got another hour. Oh, fantastic. I can keep going. All right. Um, Robert Lemieux says, "I'm in Montreal, Canada. They honestly to teach love instead of hate for so many reap what they sow. Thank you for what you do." So, okay, so that's not a question, but thank you for your comment. Uh, let's see. Watching Love from England from Mark Paul. Thank you, England. Uh, no, Rubina is absolutely horrified to think that we might try Zerg.
Delicious.
Zerg is a drink that that combines camel milk with camel urine. It's not actually a thing in Kazakhstan. It's a thing in North Africa, places like uh, Morocco and Algeria, and where the Tuareg people live down there in the Sahara Desert and stuff like that. That's where Zerg is a bigger thing. There are some kind of gross drinks and some foods here that they eat. I don't know how many of you are into eating fish whole like this. Do you guys like eating fish whole? I I really enjoy it, but some people don't like my wife. She doesn't like eating fish that are looking at her. Rubina actually likes to eat the eyes out of the fish, if you can believe that, which I think is really gross. But um, yeah, so Rubina, you don't have to worry about us trying Zerg here because they don't serve Zerg here in Kazakhstan. We'd have to go to North Africa, maybe next trip. Okay. Uh, okay. Question. Kamina says, "Can you tell me the name of the gentleman who does the security training for churches?" Yes, his name is Tim Miller. He's my good friend, and we're planning a podcast together very soon. I just have to get around to doing it. Wise Seeker asks, "If there's no way we can pay off the debt, why is the lender still lending us money? And who is the lender?" The lender, that would be you. Um, there are several ways that the United States raises the money that they're borrowing. One of the ways is by raiding the Social Security Trust Fund. So all that money you pay to Social Security, if you thought that was going into an account for you to then withdraw at some point, like a forced savings plan, it's more of a forced savings plan because all of those savings are being taken by the government and spent, and then they just put IOUs into the Social Security Trust Fund. They do that by buying U.S. bonds with that money. So the money's not there. The money to actually pay out on Social Security is not there. So Social Security is working more like a Ponzi scheme or like a multi-level marketing thing where you have to have a bunch of people at the bottom that are paying into it to pay for the people at the top that are collecting from it. However, because the United States were not having enough babies, and because we've aborted 60 million babies, there aren't enough taxpayers to continue paying for all the people who are still retired and collecting Social Security. So the government has a shortfall there and can't make up the difference without actually just printing the money. So that's where this quantitative easing comes in. The government then prints $60 billion a month or something like that, injects it into the economy, and all that does is just devalue the US dollar, causes inflation, and that's only going to get worse. So inflation will continue to get worse. And that's one of the reasons why I like partnering with our sponsor, Preserve Gold, because if inflation is going to continue getting worse, then you need a hedge against inflation. And there is no better hedge against inflation than Preserve Gold. I mean, than gold itself. Gold has always been a stable source of maintaining your wealth. And so if you want to be able to maintain your wealth, if you're worried about inflation, which you should be, then I recommend you go to preservegold.com/hotzone or text the word Chuck to 50505 and you'll get a free wealth guide from them that you can call them on the phone. They will talk you through the process. It's all straightforward. There's not a lot of double speak. They make it very simple, and you can transfer over some of your retirement savings if you like and keep it as retirement savings. You won't get hit with a tax bill for it, and they'll make sure that you know how to do it right. So I really encourage you to look into Preserve Gold, and thank you to them for sponsoring today's podcast.
Rich, you can eat. I can talk.
No, it's okay. I'm going to be done here in just a second. Statistics, how to lie with math. Yeah, really. Okay. All right. So we are that looks like I got through all the questions. That's why we need immigrants. Yeah, right. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Biden administration wanted so many immigrants to come in, because the more people, doesn't matter if they're legal or illegal, the more bodies you have in the United States, the more economic activity there will be. The more economic activity there is, the better the economy looks. So inviting in millions of illegal immigrants was the Biden administration's way of falsifying the numbers, of pumping up the economy in a fake way or a damaging way that actually is going to end up hurting us in the long run. Susan Sotelo says, question on Social Security, close to collecting. Should I collect sooner than later? Will it be depleted at some point? Well, I'm 55 and I don't plan to ever actually collect from Social Security. If I do, that just means that the United States has inflated the dollar so much that it's going to be just kind of a wash for me. If I could, I would stop putting into Social Security altogether, but they don't give you that option. And there will come a point when the United States can no longer meet its Social Security obligations, because we are in terminal decline now as a nation demographically. We've now slipped below that 1.6 children per woman threshold. And below that, the next generation is 40% smaller than the last generation. And they're not going to be able to work hard enough and pay enough taxes to even cover the payments on our debt, much less the payments to Social Security collectors. And so things do not look rosy. And that's one of the reasons why I'm recommending gold. Okay. So thank you for subscribing to that new channel. I'm trying to get enough watch hours over there to actually monetize that. And what I need you all to do is just to go play those videos. And even if you're not watching, just let them play for an hour or two when you're doing something, so that we can crank up those watch hours and I can get that thing monetized. But thank you very much for watching tonight. I really appreciate it. We're having a great time in Kazakhstan. This is my sort of birthday present to myself, because my birthday's in August, and I always like going someplace new or someplace out in the woods. So we went for a nice little hike this afternoon. We'll do some more hiking later on this week. And thanks to the Starlink, I'll be able to keep updating you on our progress. So please make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Make sure you're subscribed to the new channel, Holton Adventures. And I appreciate all of you very, very much. God bless you. We'll see you next time.
Fish is stone cold.
That's oh,
Well, tasty fish though.
mm-hmm.
I don't typically eat
It was
fish.
good. It's a little bit warm, but it's still